everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I am Christy and I am a Doctor of Occupational Therapy student. In today's video, I'll be going over an activity for Allen's cognitive level of 6. But before we get into the making of the activity, let's first review the cognitive functioning and performance skills expectations for someone who may be in Allen's cognitive level of 6. Allen's cognitive level 6 is more so of the planned actions. Therefore, typically, they're going to have a functioning adult brain and functional cognitive capacities. Therefore, the activity we're going to be doing today is an egg drop activity utilizing straws. So it's more of like a little physics activity. Now, let's get into the materials needed for the activity. Alright, the materials you're going to be needing for this activity are going to be straws. You can use any type of straw that either you have available or would like to purchase. So you could use thin straws, thick straws, plastic straws, paper straws, biodegradable straws, any type of straw that you would like. And you can even mix match between the straws. You will also be needing a tray. You will be needing little rubber bands or big rubber bands, tape, and scissors. Here what I have is a little prototype that I made, but just as like a demonstration of different types of patterns that you can create out of it, but we'll be making a new one from scratch. So let's begin with the activity. Alright, the purpose of this activity is to problem solve, to be able to critically think different types of skills and techniques. And the main goal for this activity is to protect the egg. So what you want to do is create a structure that supports the egg. That way, whenever you drop it from a certain height distance, the egg does not crack. The main goal is for the egg not to crack and to be supported by the structure that you built around it. Therefore, you can use different types of patterns. You can cut the straws into certain shapes or sizes depending on the type of structure that you're creating and building. But the main goal is to be able to problem solve, to be able to plan. Now, of course, this is a trial and error type of activity. Therefore, being able to see what works and what doesn't work and what can we do to improve the next prototype or improve the type of structure that we've made to try to protect the egg from breaking whenever we test drop it. Now, you can test drop the egg inside. It does not have to be from a very high surface. It could be from a surface just as high as a table. Or if you really want to test out the performance and the protectability of the structure you created, you can actually go outside and drop it from a much higher ground distance, just a higher ground surface area. But of course, remember to think about safety and make sure that the person that's dropping it from the higher ground is in a safe position and is being supported. Or if it's you yourself testing it, for the person that you've arranged this activity for, just make sure you're in a safe area at a high distance from the ground for the dropping, to make sure that you're being safety cautious and aware. So we're going to go ahead and begin by making another different type of prototype. I'm going to make something different from this, and we're going to go ahead and test drop it. But we're going to test drop it indoors from the table. That's why I have the tray. If you're going to be doing this indoors, you might want to put a tray or a bowl, something that the egg could be caught into, that if it does end up cracking and breaking, it does not make much of a mess inside. So therefore, when I test drop this and it falls on the tray, if it ends up cracking, well, the mess goes on the tray and not on the floor. Therefore, it protects the flooring, it protects possibly staining, and it's less mess that you have to clean up as well. So let's go ahead and into making this activity. Now, I'm going to begin trying to think of a pattern or type of structure that I want to create. One thing that I did forget to mention in the materials list is that you are going to be needing an egg. And yes, a real egg, more preferably, because if you get like a plastic egg, those won't crack necessarily. Therefore, it doesn't really test out the theory if your structure that you created is going to protect the egg and prevent it from cracking. So yes, you will need a real egg for this. Now, if you're doing a group session, you're going to need multiple materials for this. So always grab the amount of materials you need for the amount of people that you're making this activity for. But if you're doing one-on-one, then it's okay to just utilize one egg. So let's see on what structure we're going to create today. All right, I have made my prototype. Now, it does not have to be fancy. It does not have to look pretty. It just has to be able to work. That's the main goal here, is that your prototype works in protecting the egg and preventing it from cracking. So I created like a little handle, and then I did some crisscross things on the bottom, and I encased it kind of like wrapping it with all of these straws. Now, to upgrade this activity and make it a little bit more difficult and challenging is you can actually give the person a certain amount of straws, and they have to create the best prototype and structure that they can with that number of straws given. Now that makes the activity more challenging because now you have to use more of your problem solving skills, more of your critical thinking analysis to be able to figure out a structure that will prevent the egg from cracking. Now, to downgrade the activities, you can use a lot of straws the way that I did here, and that ensures that the egg will more than likely not crack, or at least we're hoping it does not crack. But those are just some ways that you can modify the activity to make it more challenging or less challenging. Then you can always build up from there by adding more straws or taking away straws. The same thing with rubber bands. You can give a certain number of rubber bands with a certain number of straws, and that limits what they are able to do with the structure. Therefore, the structure has to be made really, really well in order for it to not let the egg crack. Now, the last thing that we have to do now is to test it with the egg drop. I'll be egg dropping this from my table since I am going to be indoors. So let's go ahead and see if my structure and prototype is going to hold up and protect the egg. All right, I have my egg here with my little structure and prototype. I'm going to be dropping it from table height, and let's see if it protects it or if it does not. 3, 2, 1. Okay, that bounced. Okay, it did not crack at all, as you can see. Luckily, it did not make a mess, and my structure worked and was able to protect the egg. Now let's go ahead and take all of this off so I can show you. Ta-da! As you can see, the egg is unharmed. Oh, okay, that concludes our video. I hope the person that you organized this activity for had fun with it and was able to see and problem solve the differences between trial and error. Now, if their egg did not survive the egg drop test and it ended up cracking, you can go ahead and have them redo a different type of prototype. Have them redo the structure, maybe think of a different type of pattern, or maybe even improve the one that they have. Now, if your egg did survive the egg drop test, awesome and congratulations. You were able to problem solve and critical think properly in being able to secure the egg. But don't get discouraged if your egg did not make the egg drop test. There's always room for improvement and growth. That's the purpose of this activity, is to be able to recognize between trial and error and be able to problem solve. So this concludes our video. I hope you had fun with this activity. Until next time, thank you for watching.